Hi there, Andrea here with a tarot reading in a style entirely new. I don't know what to say about this other than I received a download, a vision, and I saw how to use standard tarot cards in a completely different way that I've never seen done before. And I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the first one ever done. And surprise, surprise, it has to do with the Vesica Pisces. Surprise, surprise, has to do with balance. No way. No. What? Here it is. We have our little archetypes in the middle. So our major arcana here in the middle. And then we have the suits each have their own personal deck, really, or their own pile within the deck. And I was given this vision months and like probably close to a year ago by now. I'd have to look at the date on my notes, but it was a long time ago. And I've been kind of trying to play around with it with a regular standard deck, and I just haven't felt ready. And I do have the tendency to overthink things. I don't know if you can relate to that, but I definitely have a tendency to overthink things and make things way more complicated than they need to be. But I truly just did not feel like I was connecting with the deck. I understood it intellectually, but I never really could tap into what the messages were when I played with a regular deck. So in the grand tradition of me overcomplicating things, I created my own deck. And the truth is, I was trying to do it for all those months and it just wasn't working, and it wasn't working. I was struggling and struggling and struggling. I honestly don't even know what I was struggling with. Like I could not tell you what was tripping me up, but I just kept getting resistance. And so then I just stopped trying for the longest time. And then I suddenly got this wave of inspiration and I found a resource that I was like, oh my gosh, this was so easy. And I freaking had it the whole time. And so I designed the backs in, I don't know, just a few minutes, really. I'm always on Canva. I do everything for work on Canva, so I'm really proficient at the program. But I was just getting so much resistance until it was time. And once it was time, I got really excited, and there she is. There's the back, and look how pretty that sheen is on there. But you see, we have two Venn diagrams converging into this beautiful four-circle Vesica Pisces that kind of looks like an eye. I dig it. I don't know. It's really cool. And then for each of the suits, it was really important that they had a way to be separated. So I just kept them really simple. You have your suit and the alchemical symbol for the element that they represent. Pretty simple. So there's your wands and cups, and there's your swords and pentacles. And as far as the layout goes, I tried a few different things with the standard tarot deck, but nothing really stuck. And so when I created the deck, one of the options I had was to create a book with it. And I'm like, I'm not ready for the book yet because I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with these cards. I really don't. I don't even know if I'm going to show these to anybody. And the truth is, I probably wouldn't have. They just arrived today. And I probably wouldn't have showed them to anybody for years, knowing me, except they arrived in a very special way that I would love to explain to you now. They came in the mail before I left for work this afternoon, and I did not know that they were in the mailbox. So when I talked to my husband while I was driving, he said, hey, a box came for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's my tarot cards. I'm so excited. And he's like, do you want me to open them? I was like, no, I'm going to wait till I get home. I'm so nervous. And then I was like, okay, open them. And so he did. So my husband was the first person to ever touch these cards. Interesting fact. He said, oh, what? And I was like, what's wrong with them? What did they mess up? Like, what's happening? And he's like, did you put these censored things on here? Did they do that or did you do that? And I said, okay. I did that because YouTubers that read tarot often get demonetized if they don't cover up the nudity on their cards. So I thought, hey, why not put some, I'm making my own cards. Why not put some censored, why not put some censored things on the boobies and the genitals? So there you have it. All PG now. So there's like 6 cards. There he is. Even the baby. So there's 6 cards in the major arcana. And so I have them separate. So I have them as they come in the deck right now, but then I created these 6 extra cards so that anybody in the future, because I always think way ahead for no use to myself, but I always think way too far ahead. And I thought, well, eventually I'm going to want to sell these, and the people who use them are probably YouTubers, and this way they can prevent themselves from getting demonetized, and they won't have to cover up the cards. There you go. Okay, so he's like, what is that? And I was like, that's what that is. So that was that. And then he's like, but I have to tell you, one card is face up and the rest are face down. He said, it's the star. What does that mean? And I laughed and I said, well, it could mean that the person who packed it wanted to mess with me and put the star face up. Or it could mean that the person who packed it thought it was really important and put the star card face up, in which case, cool. I have some validation, which we're going to talk about in a second. And then the final reason, or the final meaning, is that it just happened and the universe did it. And whatever the reason, I'm being told to share it today, not a year from now, after I've done 1,000 readings and shared with no one. So that's me getting some courage from the star card. So let's take a look at the actual reading. I did not know how I was going to lay these out. I had some thoughts and I tried some things. And as soon as I flipped over the top card on each of these, I knew what was supposed to happen. It's the craziest thing. There's really 5 legitimate ways to lay this out and have like valid backing. Like, you can use the alchemy symbols and put it out in like a pagan ritual way. And there's a couple versions of that. And then, you know, there's so many ways to think about it. There's the order that they're generally stacked in a deck. You can, you know, start at the top and go clockwise. Like there's so many ways to do it. But at the end of the day, I saw that we're looking at a reflection. And I said, oh my gosh, this is a rose cross. And I knew that might be one of the answers, but it was so very clearly a rose cross of somebody looking in the mirror. We have in the center this beautiful rose unfurling. We have our major arcana cards, which are archetypes. They are unfurling in our heart space. This is the alchemization of all of the other elements and suits in this cross. Above us is our thoughts. Below us is the earth. And then we have our feelings and our actions. How do I know the feelings are on the left? Well, feelings tend to be a little on the feminine side. And I also have the platonic solid for water right here, guys. And now I feel like I really need to get the tetrahedron over here for fire. I didn't know what to put over here. I've been thinking about it for years, and now I think I know. It makes me really happy. Yeah, so let's dig into the actual reading here. So there it is. After months of deliberation, you will soon see a tetrahedron over here. And other than this reading totally giving me the configuration of where these cards need to lay after months of deliberation, I had absolutely no resistance and it was very obvious to me. Let's go ahead and read this actual reading, our very first reading with the official Vesica deck. Here we go. We already talked about this being illusory in nature. Loser. Just kidding. Illusory. Let's take a look at our horizontal plane. Over here with our water, with our cups, with our emotions, we have somebody who has mastered his emotions. Does this mean the King of Cups never gets angry? No. Anger is a righteous response when your boundaries have been crossed. Does it mean he's never sad? No. Grief is a righteous response to something that has hurt us deeply. Does it mean he never gets excited? No. Have you ever looked at the majesty of creation and gotten excited? You think that's not correct? You think that that's wrong? Of course, he's not He's not a stone. He's a human having human experiences and human emotions, absolutely. But he does not get caught up in the ebbs and flows of illusion. What illusion, Andrea, are you talking about? Over here, we have somebody who's receiving praise for a job well done. Yes, this is accolades, this is celebration, and it is human nature to want to be recognized for something that we've achieved or some good deed that we've done. But there is a danger in getting too caught up in it, right? It's like this tumultuous ocean over here. They love me, they hate me, and there's this jerking around. It's an illusion. What other people think is an illusion. Even if people aren't wearing a mask, even if they do a very good job of communicating their thoughts and feelings to us, we can't really know for sure who they are because we are not them. And we struggle enough knowing our own thoughts and being master of our own thoughts, which we'll talk about in a second, to expect to really fully understand and integrate somebody else's thoughts is absolutely out of the question. It's an illusion. So, master of your emotions does not mean you never feel emotions. It means you don't get swept up in them and let them carry you away. So, not everybody's meant to be extremely in the middle on every single spectrum that we're going to witness in these Vesica readings. Not everybody's meant to be perfectly neutral on everything. Some people are going to err on the side of being more emotional. Some people are going to err on the side of being a rock. It's fine. Wherever you're meant to be, wherever you want to be, and you feel strongly that that's your place, be that. But if you feel like you've lost your equilibrium when it comes to emotions, ask yourself if maybe it's because I'm getting too swept up in what other people think. I can't master other people's thoughts. That's an illusion. Something to consider. Now let's look at our vertical plane. Up here with our thoughts, we have somebody who's also master of our thoughts. Look at this. We got two masters in the house. This guy is the master of his thoughts. Does that mean he never has a thought and he only chooses his thoughts? No. It means he observes his thoughts and he doesn't get swept away by the river of thoughts. I think of thoughts as being a river. Emotions are an ocean. Thoughts are a river that you just get carried away and you're gone. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Your thoughts just took you off to Timbuktu. Sometimes I get swept away with my thoughts, and sometimes they're not even negative thoughts. Sure, we all probably have a tendency to worry, especially if you're a parent. You worry that you're a terrible parent. You worry that your kid's going to get hurt. You worry that you're going to fuck them up. Like, yeah, there's lots of worry there. You worry that every plane you get on is going to crash. Yep, I'm guilty of that. But I also have been known to stand in front of the mirror and pretend that I'm being interviewed by Jimmy Fallon. So sometimes there are positive things that you can possibly get swept away. Does that mean we should never imagine anything? Of course not. But if we're getting swept away in thoughts and we're not focusing on actions, then maybe, just maybe, that's not where we're supposed to be. So what's this guy doing? Well, he's another very, very strong character in this play. He's not the page, so he's not a noob. He's been doing some stuff for a while, and he's not the master. He doesn't have things necessarily coming to him without any kind of effort. He represents momentum. He's charging forward, and he's almost like a little bit of an action over here, but he's getting stuff done in the real world. Now, there are certainly people who get stuff done in the real world, and that's literally all they do, and they never have a little bit of imagination. They're just do. That's not who this guy is. He's really not. He's also not getting swept up in his thoughts either. So, again, this is a spectrum, and you're not necessarily meant to be right in the middle. Maybe you are more on the doing side. Maybe you're more on the woo me, like me, like in the imagination world. You're in the daydreamer world, and you'll find your place on that spectrum. But if you're losing your equilibrium and you feel like something's maybe a little bit off, we're being told to take a look at our thoughts. If we're getting carried away with our thoughts, and if we're doing enough, in the world, like actually picking up momentum in the world. I'm not talking about doing for the sake of doing without any kind of passion. Like you really do need the alchemy of all the elements to create the perfect version of yourself. But yeah, if you feel like you're out of equilibrium here, are you getting swept up in your thoughts? If you feel like you're out of your equilibrium here, are you getting swept up in other people's thoughts and riding that tumultuous ocean? There it is, guys. The official first reading of the official Vesica deck. Yeah, I'm going to play around with this a little bit more, and then I'll create a book of instructions and meetings and a box. I almost got swept up in my thoughts and lost momentum because I was going to make a book in a box long before I was ready. So I'm really glad that it just came in this guy right here. Not special, not decorated, no book. We're just cards. Let's just get it done. Just get it done. Get some momentum going. And don't get stuck in all these details that we tend to get stuck up in. And do it now. Don't get stuck up in other people's emotions and the possibility of them hating it or loving it. All right? Although I'm not swept up in these emotions, I do hope that you enjoyed this, and I appreciate your time. I do care, and I do love you. Thanks.